Alright guys, so if you've been following my channel, you know that I've been wanting to put out this video on the double take now for the last couple days. But when there's going to be a patch dropping, you really have to wait it out because we have to see what the changes have been. I don't think I'd be giving you a full review without showing you what has changed in comparison to before. But I have to be completely honest because even though I've been using this sniper now exclusively for a week and I've just been using a lot of projectiles in general, I'm having a hard time figuring out exactly what they've changed. So I'm going to need your help for this, guys. So try to keep an eye on the video. I'm going to pretty much start us off from old to new. So half this video is going to be from the old stuff because it still applies to now. And then we're going to start talking about some of the new stuff and we're going to try to figure some of these things out. So what do you have to know about using the double take? Well, it's kind of a finesse weapon, even though it's one of the biggest sticks out there. This game has a funny balance, man. There's some really easy weapons to use that are strong, and then there are some other harder weapons to use that are strong. But I actually really like the balance in this game. And the thing about using the double take is that you have to be a little bit more crafty. You have to have a little bit more foresight, especially since it is a projectile weapon. That means you have to anticipate movement. You have to be a little bit more calm, a little bit more collective, and know all the strengths of your weapon. Now, one of the first things to note about using the double take is that the sensitivity when you aim down sights is actually quite slow. That's why you see me doing a lot of quick scopes, because once you aim down sights, it actually slows your movement dramatically. That's why I have problems aiming and making adjustments if you're already aiming down sights. So that's why I end up doing a lot of quick scopes. It's not for show, it's just the most efficient way to actually use this weapon. Now, something else I found is that you just have to be a little bit crafty, and I think this is for all weapons. You have to make sure that they're playing into your trap. Like, I stopped doing any kind of movements that made sound so that I can easily deke this guy out, and from there, I'm just going to go for a headshot on this next guy. He gave away his position. Even though I knew where he was, there was really no reason for him to shoot at me. And this is one of those tricks that I want to try to show you guys, because trying to do the unexpected is really what saves you in this game. It's what lets you have more engagements, and it's what lets you be craftier. And this is actually the game that I've been wanting to play now more than any other. I just feel more comfortable in this game than ever. It's just kind of been like a progression ladder ever since I've done the mobility video. The thing is, it just keeps getting easier and easier. I feel calmer and calmer, and I'm having a lot more fun in this game just because I get to kind of enjoy everything that it has. And the movement is definitely the most enjoyable part, and sometimes engagements like this, I don't want them to end. I've actually been trying to use my primary, depending on what I'm trying to use. I played around with the L-Star a lot now to just a lot of projectile weapons, and sometimes I don't want to fall back on my secondary because I find that that kind of takes away from the learning experience. And it's just a lot of fun to try to actually use some of these newer weapons. And I want to try out the, is it the softball? No, the EPG, that also got buffed. That's going to be a pretty fun weapon. And I'm going to like to see more of that kind of balance coming into this game, because the alternator, it's a really good weapon. The hemlock, it's a really good weapon. That's why I'm actually kind of glad they haven't quite nerfed them yet, because I find that those two guns are actually, they're both really strong, but they're just both for different roles. Anyways, mobility, big thing. So if you can't make that jump, you need to start practicing at this game, because trust me, once you get your mobility down, everything else just falls into place. Weapons are easier to use, strategies are easier to employ. You're going to be able to do retreats and engagements that you were never able to do before. It's going to open up doors, it's going to open up windows, it's going to open up avenues. You can go down this street, you can do whatever the hell you want. Now, in regards to the aim down sights being slow, when you're jumping, for some reason it feels a lot more comfortable. It takes a little bit of time for sure. That's a random Titanfall. But once you actually get comfortable aiming down sights, the whole kind of kit just comes together. It gets a lot easier. Phase shift is also one of the abilities that I like to use, and I still think it's one of the best abilities in this game. And when it comes to balance in this game, it's really hard to say what you would have to change, because when I'm using phase shift to try to close distance on guys with AWOLs, you need these two charges, and I'm aware that it's super strong, but sorry, we're getting off topic. I want you guys to notice that that was a 3-shot. This is new gameplay now. We're moving on to what's new post-patch. And I'm trying to see, is the fire rate different? Maybe there's some sort of magnetism on the bullets? I'm really having a hard time telling, because I was already doing kind of quick scopes like this. It's just kind of what you get used to when you're using projectile weapons. Again, I have to stress that you want to try out the Mozambique. It's really good for secondaries. And now that you're not worried about pilot sentries as much, it's a lot easier to use any other weapons other than a laser to keep taking out all these sentries. So all right here, this is all new gameplay, guys. I'm trying to see what the difference is. This was a surgical tool before. They don't seem to have changed the damage model. Maybe at point blank. No, I honestly have not even seen that scenario. Right now I have my buff. That's why I'm comfortable taking anybody in close quarters. But it's still a lot easier to use a Mozambique. And that's because if they do decide to do anything tricky, it's a lot easier to aim down sights or just hip fire with a Mozambique to hit them. Because when you're trying to aim down sights with the sniper, again, it is slow. That's why I do these quick scopes. And as I'm thinking about it, I know why it's easier to make the shots when you're jumping is because if you set up your momentum right, it's kind of correcting your scope. It's taking you towards the guy. And that's when it makes those jump shots a lot easier, when you time your momentum to where you actually want to land the shot. So what are we going to have here? Some guy's going to try to grapple again here, and it's pretty funny because I'm trying to get this pilot sentry, but I'm like, okay, I can wait. And he's going to walk right into a fist. It's just the way it's going to go. In regards to the damage against the turrets, I'm again not too sure if they changed the damage, but I know that it's definitely not as quick. I have a bunch of footage of it, but just take my word for it. It's not as good anymore. It fires intermediately. It also, it doesn't recognize you as fast as before. Like a turret used to be on you like, it was just on you. Yeah. Look at that blood splatter. Is this rated R or something? But I'm going to be starting up a whole new series called The Hunter, and it's going to revolve around this gun. So what else do we have? Well, we have pilot sentries that are nerfed, so don't worry about those anymore. But when you think about it, then what you're going to end up seeing is amped weapons. And what amped weapons actually brings is one-shot kills. There's a lot of weapons in this game that when they're amped, it's one-shot kills. So I want everybody to think long and hard, what do you think of that meta? Because I was kind of talking about the AWOL meta, and let's be honest, that's what we had, at least on console. And now I'm seeing the amped weapon meta, and I want everyone, again, to think about how is this going to play out for everybody. Good positioning, man. That's key. Doesn't matter the weapon, that's key. So this is going to be a complete game, just so you guys can get a feel for what you can do with it just out of the box. Now, what I have it right now is amped. Is it actually amped? Let's take a look. If you can see the crosshair, then it's amped. I can't see the crosshair, so it's going to take 2 shots at range. It's going to take 2 shots all the time, sometimes 3. So that's what you have to get used to. But once you amp it, then you're going to be able to do the one shots more consistently with body shots. But notice that was 3 shots, no kill. Again, this is all new gameplay, so it's still a 3 shot. And that's what I have trouble like kind of understanding. If this is kind of the same thing as the Hemlock, but if it's still like considered a 3 shot at some ranges, what's the point of using it? Because the Hemlock is a lot more controllable. It's really easy to use when you aim it down sights. It's really quick, it's really responsive. It's not a it's a hit scan, it's not a projectile weapon. So why is there those benefits to the Hemlock and then you have this going on with the sniper? That's what I did not understand in this game. Why did they end up doing the balance like that? I thought that's actually what was going to happen in this patch, and when I didn't see that, I was actually really surprised, and that's when I started looking for what did they actually change. And now that I actually don't know what they've changed, I've kind of tried to look at the rate of fire, but even then I honestly don't notice. If that's what you guys buffed, alright, bravo, you guys buffed the rate of fire, but I honestly don't notice. I don't notice any kind of new utility to this weapon. But again, I already thought it was strong. Like, I'm kind of playing tower defense here. That's kind of what I was thinking in this video. Sometimes when I start playing, I start getting this thought in my head of what I want to do. Maybe I want to do a theme. Maybe I'm actually like recording for real, and I'm like, maybe I'm gonna try to actually do something really cool. But what I ended up doing was just taking shots from here. I ended up treating this as base 1, behind me base 2, and then I have a base 3. From there, I lose the game. So that's what I'm going to end up doing. I'm going to try to stay alive in this corner. And what I learned from that is that projectile weapons are strong, and if with a little bit of foresight and a little bit of phase shift, you're going to be able to pretty much survive anything if you have a plan. And that's what I have to stress about using weapons like this. You need to have a plan, because it's not something you can just run in and gun, because the set rate of fire, regardless of if it was improved, you're still not going to be taking on multiple people like you'd be able to do with an alternator. Even with a Hemlock, you can take on multiple people close quarters. But there's also even weapons like the Mozambique, which is practically a primary. Oh, there's so many things that it makes you kind of wonder about of how this game can work, because if you gave everybody secondaries, you got a Mozambique. If this thing ends up getting buffed, then it's a one-shot weapon for everybody. Let's get DMRs out here with one-shot body shots with amped weapons. Let's start getting alternators that two-shot you. Let's start doing Hemlocks that were already one-bursting you, so I don't know how that can get any better. If you're an aggressive Hemlock guy and you're one-bursting people, like, that's awesome, man. Like, There you go. He's not using AWOL, but he's got a hemlock. But is it really that different than an alternator? I don't know. This whole review kind of just, it can't just talk about this weapon because you have to see how it is in relation to other weapons. And this whole game, I don't know, it's just opened up in the way that the flanks work. Like, spawn traps in this game are funny as well because you're so fast in this game that really, can you really be contained in a spawn trap when you're playing against players that know what they're doing? This game is really easy to skew because of the fact that there's no matchmaking. People's experiences are so different because they're playing against not just different mechanics, they're also playing against just different players in general and different brackets and skill. And that's what this game doesn't address. That's why it's so hard to get a comparison and try to get a consensus on what works in this game. And that's really what's been going on during this patch. I've been trying to figure out what works. Like, I have very little experience with some of the weapons I was trying out, like the machine gun. You can clearly see the buffs that the Spitfire, the aim down sight accuracy was drastically improved, and now it's actually useful. Like, I have pre and post video, and you can see a really good improvement, but it's actually mainly just aiming down sights. Is it a top tier contender now? It's kind of more like a devotion, but even then, I find that if you were somebody that used a devotion before, you're probably not going to change over to the Spitfire. Just like the R97, people were starting to rave about it on Reddit, and I tried it out myself. It's not the same because even when you tap fire it, it's still not as accurate as the alternator, which is why the alternator will always be the best alternative when it comes to an SMG. See guys, we can't just talk about just one weapon. Oh, by the way, tower defense, everything's gonna reset. Here are my guys, and go. So what I haven't talked about is my build. What I like to use is either an arc grenade or a gravity star, preferably a gravity star. Because the whole concept is that I need to slow them down so I can hit them with my projectile weapon, because obviously it's a lot easier to hit guys when they're going slow. That's why there's actually this trade-off between going far into the distance, because then you have to have more anticipation because it's not a hit scan weapon, you have to lead it. So the farther they are, the further into the future you have to look. So yeah, I'm godly because I'm able to predict. Holy shit, I did not know that thing was going to be there. But you know what? They're just not as lethal as they used to be. I was really surprised that it didn't kill me. And then I'm like, right, the patches dropped. That is one thing they really did do right. If there's one thing I can give them credit for is that that thing was ruining it. But now, geez, I can't get this thing out of my head that we're going to have that one-shot meta. But the video is just about over, but I just want to tell you guys the things that I think you need to know if you want to use this weapon correctly. First, learn to lead your shots. Second, no, this actually should have been first. You need to get your mobility down because it doesn't matter the weapon. Mobility is just key in this game. Because then you're going to get to shoot a lot of guys in the back. It's the best thing to do in this game is flank guys and just shoot them in the back before they even know you're there. It makes the gameplay look kind of funny because it's like, this guy has no skill, he's just shooting guys in the back, but the reality is that I took the time to really mobilize and end up getting those jumps on people. Anyways, that's pretty much the end of this video. We are going to be denying everybody who tries to get to this dropship. We are going to be slaying these guys in the Hunter videos. Get ready for that because I really enjoy the Hunter. I'm also going to be putting out a quick video on all the other changes that I saw because the other guns were actually more apparent. This one still eludes me, but the other guns were more apparent, so I'm going to put out a quick video on that because those are easier to notice. But that's the end of the video, guys. If you guys can thumbs up and just put a comment, it just helps give me more exposure, guys. And it helps me dig my way out of the bottom of YouTube because it's so hard with all the content. So if you do want to support my work, make sure to leave all that stuff, you know, the comments, the thumbs up, sharing the video, all that stuff really helps. So again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.